I don't know who needs to hear this right now, but you have all of these flaws that honestly, if you were to change this aspect about yourself or these aspects about yourself, you would quite literally stunt your growth. You would be inauthentic to who you are. And honestly, you would be doing a disservice to yourself if you were to change these aspects about yourself. Let me dive deeper. Okay, so first, I actually did not plan out this video very well. I literally just had something happen to me and then I was flooded with the Holy Spirit of like, oh my gosh, girl, you gotta share this. So earlier, I was looking for this very specific piece of paper. And this piece of paper was actually very important for me. And so I was like, let me go over to this shelf where I put this piece of paper amongst other pieces of papers that are important. It's somewhere over there on the shelf, disheveled, I'm sure. And then I go over to said shelf and I'm like, where's this piece of paper? And then little flashback comes. I remember I actually thought in the past, I was like, past version of Lacey was like, you know what? You should actually store this away for a safe place. It would be safer if you stored it away because this is an important piece of paper and it needs to be safe and stored away in an organization system. That was really sweet that I did that in the past. Do you know what happened? Do you know what actually happened? I have no idea where this piece of paper is. I have no idea where I put this paper because past version of me was like trying to do something that ordinarily I would actually never do. Because realistically, let's just think about it realistically. Okay, I'm not an organized person. Honestly, I'm not organized. It's just, it doesn't work for me. And so the past version of me thought that I was really helping myself with putting this piece of paper away. Then I thought to myself, you know what? Honestly, if I had just left this piece of paper right where it was, disheveled, just like it could have fallen somewhere and I could have just like pushed it into a crevice somewhere and I would have found it because I still don't know where this paper is. Don't know where it is. Hopefully I find it. But if I had just left it where it was with my organized chaos, then I would have had it by now. I would have known exactly where it was. And I've done this my whole life and I realized that honestly, every single time that I have done this, it has not worked out for me. Every single time that I have gone against who I am, it has not worked out for me. And honestly, I think to myself, you know, if God wanted me to be organized, he probably would have made me a Virgo. But I'm a Libra. You know, I actually chose to be this person. I actually chose to be really unorganized because it works for me. It works for me and who I am. Other people might not understand, but I don't question because it always works for me. I know myself and I know how my brain works. So how it appears and how it looks to other people, it doesn't really matter because I know. And I think about that and all of the other traits that I have rejected about myself, but then I have to come back and think like, wow, you know, this is who I am and that's okay. I do believe that of course there are other traits that like aren't necessarily the best that I could work on, and those are traits that maybe have been picked up along the way, traits that have been picked up from trauma. I think I made a video recently about this, but there are certain traits that are a part of us that are inherently who we are. And I think I heard someone else one time talking about this, how she was always someone that worked really, really well under a time crunch. And when she did things way ahead of time, it just didn't work out. And I'm someone that's kind of like that too. Or at least I was like in high school when I would have to write papers or something like that, or I'd have to do a project or something like that. And a lot of people look down upon things like that, like doing things last minute. But honestly, if it works for you, it works for you. I'm not someone that's going to judge how other people choose to do it because I understand that we've all come to this earth as very unique, very different individuals. And what makes us very unique and different is that we look at things differently. We do things differently. For the most part, I work well when I just allow myself to be who I am. And I think that just goes back to us being our authentic selves. Because there, like I said, there was a time where I was really like hard on myself about like some of the aspects of myself, that the traits that really made me who I am. And then I realized like, well, who's to say that this has to work for everyone? Who's to say that the way that I show up in the world has to be the same way that other people show up in the world? So I think there's a really big lesson there of just remembering to be authentic to who you are, despite what the external world says that you have to be, despite how the external world says that you have to show up. And that goes to everything. You know, our relationships, some people might not understand your relationship, but they're not in the relationship, and that's not, you know, theirs to judge or theirs to understand because they're not in that relationship. Some people might not understand the way that you work, the way that you go to work, how you work. Maybe you need to work with music, and some people say, like, you know, when you work you should be quiet and be free of distractions. But if that's what works for you, that's what works for you, because that's how you chose to show up in the world. And so I do think that when we start to come to a place of acceptance and accepting our whole selves, because we can accept ourselves all the time, but we can be in this place where we're accepting ourselves, but we're constantly trying to change ourselves. And I think that when we're constantly trying to change ourselves, that's not true acceptance, and that's not true authenticity. Being authentic to yourself means showing up in whatever way that is, showing up unorganized, showing up messy, showing up, maybe you are super organized, maybe that is what works for you. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad in this world. There's only neutral. Everything is what you make it to be. So if my unorganized chaos is something that I feel I thrive in, and I'm making this something that helps me, I'm making this a positive attribute about myself because I'm accepting myself, then that's really all that matters. I think that that's really what we should strive to do, is just continue to accept ourselves, because also when we begin to accept ourselves, we become less triggered by other people that do things differently. When we accept all of ourselves, however we continue to show up, that's energy that attracts other people that are also accepting of themselves. That makes you less triggered to how other people do things, how other people show up in the world. Really, that's all I wanted to share, is just being authentic to yourself and making sure that you are accepting your whole self and not accepting pieces of you and trying to change other pieces of you, because you didn't come here to be a half-assed version of yourself. You didn't come here to come here and then constantly change all these different parts of yourself. No, you came here because you chose to be here as this person. You came here because you chose to show up however it is that you are. That is what you chose, and that is what you should continue to strive for, and you should continue to be, and continue to love that person, because accepting yourself, being authentic, that is true love. So anyway, I think my nose is running. I was preaching the gospel out here. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening. I am so grateful for you guys. I'm actually going to be starting, I think, going live maybe once a month on YouTube. I just did it earlier and I had a lot of fun. It was kind of thrilling. So I think I'm going to start doing that a little bit more. And other than that, I hope you are really taking care of yourself. It is still Mercury retrograde and Saturn retrograde, and I hope you are being patient with yourself along the process. And I hope you have a wonderful day. I will see you again soon. Bye.